We are the Apple team. My name is Dan Flaherty. Presenting with me is Luke Romano, Ryan Davis, and Molly McShane in that order. All right, so starting out, we have the dream. In 1976, two friends, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, became co-founders of a small computer company in California. The mission of this company was to create computers that the average person could not only afford, but operate without any extreme learning needed. They had quick success, but revenue was actually not recorded in their first year, as Woz told reporters later that they, quote-unquote, sold a couple of hundred in their first year. Apple really began gaining traction in 1978. They experienced more growth more quickly than any company in history. Their income streams came primarily from their personal computer sales, which were the Apple I and Apple II, and their operating system software. As you can see, in 1977, they did $773,000 in sales, increasing that to $7.5 million in sales in 1978. This growth was unheard of, and the company was not ready for it. Apple really was the David versus Goliath story of their time. They fought battles on multiple fronts, and Steve Jobs always saw them as the little guy. Most people don't know that IBM and Commodore actually held more than 77% of the personal computer market in the 1980s. This is because Apple was not prepared to sell to corporations and government entities such as schools and nonprofits to make their sales be as large as IBM and Commodore's. Leading into the 80s, there was unrest within the management and the ownership, and the new CEO, John Sculley, along with the board members, had a much different view than Steve Jobs did at the time.
In 1985, Steve Jobs was forced out of the company that he started after many years of power struggles between other employees. After this, he took a couple of his close, loyal members and started his new company in Next. This was a new computer development company that focused on higher education and business markets. Next was a competitor for Apple from the years 1985 to 1997. Next would eventually be bought by Apple for $429 million, and Steve Jobs would return back to Apple. Some major competitors of Apple during the 80s and 90s was Next, Microsoft, IBM, and Commodore International, which was one of the leaders in the tech world. Excluding Next, all of these companies had more control in the market than Apple did. Even today, Apple's facing many more competitors than they were back then. Some failed products that Apple had was the Apple Mac Portable, the Macintosh TV, Apple Bandai Pippin, which is the picture to the right, Apple III, Apple Lisa, which is the picture to the bottom right. All of these items were a bit too expensive, and they were also trying to cross into industries that already had leaders. So what changed for Apple? In 1997, Steve Jobs returns and is appointed to restructure the company, and that's just what he did. Jobs sets up a partnership between Microsoft and Apple, which is one of the biggest partnerships in the tech world still to this day. After he returns, he emphasizes on making quality products, saying the current ones just aren't good. In 2001, iTunes revolutionizes the way people listen to music. This platform would allow users to buy and download songs, all from doing it online, and this was something that was never seen before in the music world.
Okay, so I have the total analysis. I'm going to start with the threats. One threat was IBM. They were the next top product, which Apple III product released at the same time, which IBM crashed the sales. The overpricing of the Mac, they pushed to the consumer market, which it was overpriced. So then they pushed to the business market, which the Mac did not meet the expectations for corporate America because it did not have enough storage, no hard drive, and no networking capabilities. There was conflict between the founder and co-founder due to the lack of communication efforts and determination to push their product. They also had competition within the PC market, which was Dell, Samsung, HP, and the Android was competition for the cell phones. Okay, now moving on to the opportunities. One great opportunity Apple had was rehiring Jobs. Jobs then created a 5-year technology alliance with Microsoft, so Microsoft can be used on Apple. They also hired qualified professionals with years of experience to broaden the vision, built a relationship with AT&T to promote the iPhone in the cell phone market. Also, they have growth to brand other products such as Apple TVs. Having Jobs back on board and having his vision changed around a lot of things within the company to become successful again. Okay, now moving on to weaknesses. Apple received overwhelming call volume, tech support, and store capacity. Shipping issues for pre-order products caused by the overwhelmed staff. Apple's price point is directed towards middle and high class. No advertising, causing lack of communication from business to consumer. Similar look on the external and just upgrading internal of the product. Limited sales promotions to intrigue new customers. Lastly, for the TOES analysis, which is the strengths. Apple has storage called iCloud, which is compatible with all Apple devices. Data recovery on the go. Get your data just by signing into your iCloud wherever you are. High premiums recommended for corporate America. Loyal customers regardless of the issues. Having a great marketing team. To continue having great updates for the iPhone.
Throughout our whole analysis and research of Apple, we found there were a few short-term recommendations as well as long-term recommendations. So starting with the short-term, we were thinking that surveying before product launching would enhance the launch. This will provide Apple with a clearer vision of the success of the product being launched. We also believe that we should include perks and increase brand loyalty and customer satisfaction. And third, we should make wires and products more reliable for the customers. If charging products are anything like they are now, Apple should portion off a larger sum of their profits and dedicate that to making charging products and wires more durable. When it comes to long-term recommendations, we believe the most prominent were eliminating the price differentiation compared to competitors, increasing advertising budget, therefore increasing the traffic coming to these products, and lastly, enhance the product testing prior to the launch. In conclusion, we came to a few short pieces. So our first one is Apple started from nothing and became one of the most successful technology corporations in the world. Apple's failures are what has paved the way for their tremendous success. Steve Jobs has been and always will be the brains behind Apple's rise in the technology business, and this company has led a huge impact on many people, along with other businesses who look for motivation to become the best they can be.